What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 24 of MorWrestling's podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Morrison. I am joined today by my co-host, Zakk Rolfe. What's going on today, Zakk?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Not bad at all. It's about 45 degrees up here in northern New York. Got a good workout this morning. Sun's shining. It's not a bad day.
Dude, I can't wait to go outside, start playing catch with my kids, doing fun stuff where it's not snowing. I just got brand new cornhole boards, custom made. I got an Ohio State one and a New York Giants one. It's pretty awesome. Pretty excited to use those.
Yeah, is there still snow on the ground down there?
Yeah, it's melting away. It's going away, but it is still very slightly there.
Yeah, we still have quite a bit of snow up here, but it's going to take a few weeks to actually melt.
I'll say maybe 2 days from now it'll all be gone.
That's nice. Then you can go outside and play and do what you want to do.
Right.
Your high school season wrapped up this past weekend, right? Saturday.
Yeah, we got done Friday.
How'd that go?
It went well. We were, one thing I'm really excited about with my program. So we actually went to Tioga on Wednesday, and it was really cool. So on my team, I think I have, out of my 15 kids in my varsity team, I think 9 of them are freshmen. So, it was really nice to see them react to watching a program like Tioga, who's obviously the 2-time defending state champs. And it was cool because at one point, all the kids, it was like towards the beginning of the matches, and all my kids are kind of sitting up in the stands, just kind of waiting for them to come up. And I walked over to them. I said, guys, look over to the other bench. Tell me what you see. And what you saw was every single one of their kids, no matter how big or small, how far away their matches were, they all had their headphones on. They were all pacing back and forth, kind of getting ready for their matches. And my young freshman team's all sitting up in the bleachers waiting for things to happen. And I looked at them and I said, look at them and look at those banners on the wall and tell me what you see. Tell me what the difference is between our program and theirs. Because it's not the banners, it's what they're doing on the outside. And
right.
They all kind of looked at me like, oh, wow, you know what, you're right. Like, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And we went on to win 3 varsity matches out of, 18, right? Which
Right.
I expected. We're wrestling Tioga. I have a young team. I wasn't shocked by any means. But we got on the bus, and actually it was like the opposite effect. Usually you get your butt kicked and everybody's like down in the dumps and really upset. But I had all my kids were like coming to me and saying, hey coach, I don't think I want to play lacrosse this year. I think I'm going to come in the spring. I'm going to do my football, and then I'll be there in the spring, and so I can get better wrestling. I had like 3 or 4 of my freshmen come to me and say that, who all grew up watching or playing lacrosse, right? That was their main sport. So it was really cool to hear that and see that with my program starting to kind of get these young kids to buy in. And our Pee Wee program, they started in 2015 with a bunch of young guys. So we're just now starting to see our Pee Wee program, where I think 5 of our 9 freshmen are all coming from the Pee Wee program. And it's really our first set of kids that are coming up. So it's really cool to see that and see all the kids buying in after watching the 2-time state champs come beat our asses.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that from the same aspect, and then from the opposite aspect. Come from Governor. We when I wrestled, you had to start warming up. You kind of got into the zone when you were wrestling before your matches. You weren't just going to go out there after eating a bag of Cheetos on the bench or whatever. So when I went to Canton to coach, that's part of changing the culture. You get those guys to see what's going on and seeing what it takes to be at that next level, and start doing the right things. And some of those guys bought in, and it obviously helped our program around, because we started beating teams we lost to my first year there. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from. It's nice to see that when you have a young team.
Yeah, exactly. And it's my second year in coordinating. Well, it's technically my third year in coordinating, but my second year as the head coach. And it's motivating me to see them buy in. And it's not, you can, as a coach, you can tell your kids, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is what I did, or whatever, right? But it's different when you see, like, you go to a program like Tioga and you see what their guys are doing. You're like, oh man, it's really what they're doing. That's really what we should be doing. It's different when you actually see kids your age and successful guys who are beating the crap out of you do things, as opposed to the old man with the whistle in his mouth telling you
Yeah,
what to do.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's good that you guys had a good season. We're still waiting up here. I think we're gonna have it at April 1st to June 10th, but again, I'm not 100% sure on any of that logistics stuff yet.
I mean, that's
I
a
don't know
full
if it's
2 month season.
yeah, and of all of April. Hopefully, a week doesn't pass where you're quarantined as a school. You're not allowed to go practice and whatnot. It's still up in the air. I think the school's got to finalize it first and all be on the same page. And it's going to be inter county, wrestling. So it'll suck, but it is what it
Yeah.
is.
But like, I kind of wish we had I wish we had March as our month rather than February,
Right.
because then I'd be leading right into states. Right? Like
Exactly.
right now, I have to go practice in my barn with less kids because, now it's football season, so I'm losing out on some of my kids that are going to go play football in March. But it'd be nice if I was still in my wrestling room practicing rather than in my barn at the moment.
Yeah. And if for us, it does suck because baseball season's going to be happening. I think maybe even lacrosse. So we've got a few kids on our team that play baseball, and they're obviously going to probably continue to play baseball just because wrestling's hard. It's tough. Some might not want to do it. I think one of our seniors might actually be wrestling this year, which is it's good to see. Even with the schedule or the limited schedule we have, but
Right.
it's got its pros and cons having it in April or March or yeah, April through June. But it is what it
Hey, you
is.
guys can get ready for Fargo.
Yeah, I I think Bear. Well, see, a lot of our guys that are practicing are still practicing at Kenny's, Greenhouse. So all the North Country guys, Section 3, Northern Section 3, even as far south as like, Central Square where Cole Mulhauls are from, and then there's a handful of Fulton guys that are practicing up at Watertown as well.
That's
So
pretty awesome.
yeah,
That
it's
being
good to
said,
have that location.
I did hear that we will be having a freestyle states.
That's nice.
Yeah, I hear it's going to be in Williamsport, PA.
Oh,
So that'll
nice.
be fun. That'll be good.
Yeah, down in Lycoming, or I mean, well, probably not at the college, but
No, I don't know if you know where the Matt Town Open was, but that was an event they had recently. That's
hmm.
where it is.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's cool. I mean, you could go to the Howard J. Lamedy Stadium or whatever that Little League World Series game is.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
They also have a
Yeah.
pretty cool little um, large arena complex thing where they have like laser tag and a trampoline park, a bunch of stuff for like families to kind of get together and do stuff in. So you can go wrestle at Freestyle States and then go jump on some trampolines and have some fun with your family and
Yeah.
team. Take your team there, do a little team building, have a little fun.
Yeah. Talking about freestyle, the women's wrestling, the Cliff Keen NCWWC Nationals were held this past weekend. We had several New York girls place. So down in eighth place at 130 pounds, Naomi Henry, out of New Jersey City, she took eighth. Zoe Gress, Colorado Mesa, took seventh at 155. Morgan Davison of Tiffin took sixth at 170. Nia Crosdale of King took fourth at 170. Sophie Marabella of King took fourth at 116. Making the finals was Joy Lewandowski of McKendree. They were the team national champs. She took second at 170. And our national champ from New York was Cheyenne Sissentine of
607
King.
stand up.
Yeah, right. So she took first at 123. So Cheyenne and Joy both qualified for the Olympic trials coming up. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited for them, and I think Cheyenne's gonna be a killer. Coming up. I'm not sure she's ready to make a team just yet, um, especially at that 53, 57 kilo area.
Right.
I would assume she would go 53 kilos, but I'm not sure she's ready to go there yet. But it's gonna be fun to see her in the future. How about that 170 weight class? Tons of New York. Tons of New York.
Yeah.
New
Crossdale,
Yorkers place at
Davison, and
170.
yep, that was an awesome. I think it was Joy's semifinal match. She, hit one of her patented ankle picks. Seems like she hits that a lot. She's obviously tall.
Right.
Yeah, it was nice. I think her dad posted that on Instagram or on the New York Wrestling Women's Instagram page. But yeah, it was awesome.
She's really good.
Yeah. So that was it's exciting to see some of our New York girls, continuing on in wrestling in college, and as our sport grows, hopefully, more schools and even the state sanctions the sport of women's wrestling in New York. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, speaking of women's wrestling in New York, Elmira College is reaching out looking for a volunteer coach to help coach their women's college program. So if anybody's interested, reach out to them. They have an Instagram at Elmira. I believe it's at Elmira Women's Wrestling.
Yeah, W Wrestling maybe. W Wrestle.
Yeah,
But
so they're looking for someone. Reach out to them. They're on all social medias. Coach Chris Griswold looking for something to do.
yeah, if you guys didn't know, our second episode, we had Ian Clark on, the men's coach, talking about the facilities and stuff that they have there. And even if you go to their social media, they post a lot of stuff where, it's cool to see, their dorms and the facilities they do have in that small college. Obviously, you're in that area already, so some
I
stuff about it, but
I live a mile from the college, so.
it's nice. It's going to be fun to go down there and watch some wrestling.
Dude, I can't wait. And especially, they actually did a really nice job of recruiting some Section 4 guys. We got a couple of Tioga kids, a Windsor kid. So I'm sure they're going to take some of my kids soon. I think a couple of my kids have looked at that at their school so far this year. So I'm excited to see my guys stay home so I can, travel 5 minutes to go watch them compete rather than Drew, who goes all the way down to Long Island and I have to wait and watch them online.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get into the NAIA. The NAIA had their nationals this past weekend as well. I reached out to Reinhardt's assistant coach, Jimmy Overheiser. And he said there wasn't any New York guys that competed at the tournament this year, but he said, expect to see some next year. I know he has been recruiting a few guys to compete down there in Reinhardt.
Tyler Rice committed to go down there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I know he had like 2 or 3 other people that were gonna go down for visits. I think they did. And
Avery went down and visited. Avery Leonard went down and visited. Cody Murray went down and visited. I took Zakk Levy down with Luke Riley from Elmira. I know they all went down. Another one was, I believe, Greg Hoteling went down. He visited down there. I mean, he was doing a nice job of trying to recruit those New York guys, get them down to Reinhardt.
Yeah,
they're always going to come up. They just had their first ever national champion in the program's history. They took, I think they finished 6th in the tournament overall, which, I mean, for a young program, that's impressive. They're doing a really nice job down there. How about, so their guy, Nolan Saxton, who won at 157, how about the guy in the finals that he wrestled? Did you see that?
Yeah, he was bandaged up, right?
Yeah, I guess. I think he straight up tore his hamstring.
Yeah, probably.
I could be wrong. I don't know that for sure. That's just me totally guessing. But he did it in the semifinals. Did you see this? In the semifinals, he did it in the match in overtime.
Oh yeah, I did, and he got I did.
Yeah, he did it in overtime. So it was at the end of the third period, going into overtime, and you had to take injury time at the end of the third period. So obviously, you take injury time in college, your opponent gets choice. So his opponent takes down in sudden victory, and all he has to do is escape, and he wins. And this kid, Giovanni Bonilla from Grandview, get the turn in sudden victory to win the match with a torn hamstring. Unreal. And then he goes out there and he laces up and he tries to compete in the finals. He's obviously too banged up to do so, but man, that was impressive. What a show of guts that kid had.
Jason Bryant, I think tweeted or retweeted that video, and so yeah, I saw it on my timeline. But thinking about it though, if that kid was injured and really only was standing on one leg, I mean, obviously going down is a smart decision, but he's still using his upper body at that point. I don't know. Maybe shooting on a guy with one leg isn't as bad as being underneath a guy that has, full capability of using his upper body. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you think about it, I mean, he just got hurt. You don't really know how injured he is going into overtime. Maybe, you don't know if he's just tired or what's going on.
I could have been gassed, yeah.
So, like, you don't – and then you take down, so you don't even see the capacity of which he really is banged up. So then – I mean, he got that turn. He stood up. You could tell. He's celebrating on one foot. He's not even. He's celebrating, getting excited. Even with the adrenaline of just making the national finals, isn't enough to stop the pain. He's not using it to celebrate with. Like, he clearly was very injured.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, I mean, sucked to see him injured, but it was nice to see Overheiser and Reinhardt get their first natty champ. So
Yeah, Jimmy, learn up your celebration game, bro.
yeah, you look pretty calm in that corner.
I was a little upset with you. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a video of me when Drew won the quarters last year. My leg's like in a spaz, twitch kind of thing. You think I'm having a seizure with my leg because I'm like freaking out so hard. I don't even know what I'm doing. And this kid helped somebody win a national title, and he's just like, "Let's go."
Yeah. That's what we do.
What is this?
Yeah. So moving on to our D2 guys, the D2 national tournament is going on this weekend. We have several New York guys competing in that as well. We have a pipeline going from New York to Gannon, I think. But so starting at 141, we have Kellen Mckenna. He's out of Section 3. He wrestles for Notre Dame now, out of Ohio. I believe he's second seed at 141. So this isn't his first time at the national tournament. He's made it before. Also at 141, we have Austin Hertel of Hilton. He competes for Gannon, one of 4 guys from New York that are wrestling for Gannon at this tournament. Up at 157, we have Nick Young out of Alexander. He also wrestles for Gannon. 174, we got Noah Carreri. He's out of Section 9. He wrestles for Queens. Up at 184, Cameron Page of Faulkner. He wrestles for Gannon. 285, Freddie Nixon of St. Joe's. He is the 4th guy that wrestles for Gannon. So, half of their team is New York guys. It's a pipeline right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then also at 133, Benny Fielding. He wrestled for IHC. Maybe, I know for Modified and Pee Wees he did. And then maybe at 1 year varsity, but then he went to Germany because his dad's in the Air Force or the Army. And he wrestled in Germany. But he wrestles for Belmont Abbey, and he's also competing at 133. So
That's
just another New York guy. Yeah, his brother is wrestling this year for Carthage, northern part of Section 3. So
nice.
Yeah, interesting. Yep. So that about covers it for the Division 2 national tournament going on this weekend. Tune in. We've got some hammers competing out there.
Yeah, good luck.
Moving into the Big Tens, though. I mean, this conference, second weekend of conference tournaments were pretty darn exciting.
So I was, I had a good time. I watched all day Saturday. I was watching some kind of wrestling, whether it was Pelicone, Big Tens, Big 12s. Like it was a good day.
Yeah, I watched the Pelicone tournament. I think Friday morning before I went into work, and then I worked most of the day for Friday, and then all day Saturday. So I was not able to watch most of it, and then I was not able to watch the first day of Big Tens. So that sucked. But
as much as I love freestyle, it's March. It's NCAA season. I did focus more on Big Tens than I did on the Pelicone. I have to go back and watch the matches. I did go back and watch Burroughs Chamizo. We can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. So talking about Big Tens, Iowa won the Big Ten tournament with 159.5 points. They beat Penn State, who had 124, coming in second. Just to give the top 5, Nebraska finished 3rd, Michigan 4th, and Minnesota 5th. One thing I noticed in the team scores was obviously Ohio State. I'm not reading much into this, but Ohio State finished 9th place with 69.5 points. I think that was their fewest team points they've had since 2011. Granted, Decatur didn't wrestle, and Echemendia was out this year. So
Decatur didn't make weight.
Right.
I mean, how do you not make weight at the Big Ten championships? Like, this is your national qualifier. You have to make weight 2 more times. Figure it out, man. Like, it's I don't get it. I mean, yeah, he's probably pulling a lot.
Right.
You made it all year. Like, that doesn't make sense. Echemendia, I mean, he wasn't even the starter, so, like, I mean, you can say he was out, but he's not better than D'Amelio at folk style.
Right. I mean, folk style it's a different thing. Obviously, he can hang with some of these guys on their feet, but when he goes down, it's not good for him. Obviously we saw it with him and Fireman.
Yeah, well, I mean, even on your feet, if you think about it, if you've only wrestled freestyle your whole life and you wrestle against people like Ironman, who has no problem going across his back, which is not something you have to worry about when you're finishing shots in freestyle.
Right.
So, I mean, everything in this guy's world is different. So, I do think he'll be able to figure it out in a couple of years. I mean, he's got some time still. He's in a good room. Unfortunately, the room he's in is not a great bottom wrestling team. Hurts my soul, but
Hurts my soul.
it's
Yeah,
the
but
truth. Ohio State can't get off bottom. I don't know why. You think they'd figure it out, but they do have a lot of focus on freestyle. They have, at least traditionally, so I'm not super surprised by it, but figure it out.
yeah, so seeing them so low in the team standings was kind of surprising, or just it was different to see. But on a different token, Michigan State, they finished with more team points than they finished since 2003, I believe, the last 18 years.
That's
You know,
phenomenal.
yeah, it's good to see them because a few years ago they were down in the dumps. When I think Minkle was leaving, I believe maybe that's when it was. But yeah, it was just their program kind of was not in the right direction. But yeah, it was good. They've had a good weekend this past weekend, and I think they're sending 6 or 7 guys to the NCAA's maybe. So
Yeah, they had a really good tournament. The one thing I will say, I don't know the exact stat for this, but something like 5 or 6 of their guys are seniors this year. I think I read somewhere or saw somewhere. Um, Cam Caffey,
Rayvon
Foley. I think
Tucker,
The Santos kid at 41 is a senior. Tucker,
yeah,
Hughes,
Hughes, yeah,
Malsuski. I mean,
yeah,
they're all really. I mean, they're not old, but I think they're all seniors. Which obviously they can come back one more year, but I mean, who wants to do that when not many people are going to want to do a 6th year of college unless you already have plans for a master's or even a doctorate at that point, right?
yeah, true.
But a couple of really good things about Michigan State, and I don't know if you want to do it when we get to the weight class, but Peyton Omania and Chase Aldate.
Yes,
I mean, Omania didn't qualify, but he beat Mike Gambrilla, who took third at this tournament.
yeah, he had a good tournament.
I mean, he hit a nasty headlock. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and then Saldate, he took fourth, which in our preview episode we talked about he was going to be wrestling or Caleb Young. Maybe the first round or maybe it was the quarters that he wrestled them in. But regardless, we knew he probably wasn't right there to beat Caleb Young yet. But he has a promising career and he's done pretty darn well for a freshman. So
Yeah, no, he's really good, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. I'm sure people do, but Saldate is the one who kind of went a little bit viral when Khabib Nurmagomedov was wrestling at Gilroy with DC, and Chase Saldate is from Gilroy, wrestles for Daniel Cormier, and the video of Khabib beating up the high school kid was Chase Saldate. So
yeah, you
he's gonna be
you
a
you
monster.
put you put high school kids against me. I whoop his ass or something. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was nice to see Saldate. I actually went after I saw that. I'm like, I got to follow this kid now. So, I followed him, and then, he was going to Michigan State, and that's obviously where he's at right now. And it's good to see him having some success. So, getting into our into the weights, starting at 125, Spencer Lee was a champ, and his performance is pretty awesome. I mean, especially with the leg that may or may not be blown out. I don't know.
Yeah, man, like that is scary to think about. Those of you who don't know or didn't see it, because I know a lot of people who listen to the show aren't like they may not be on social media as much, but there was a tweet or something going around on Twitter that Spencer Lee mouthed or said something to Brands in the corner, and it looked like he said, "It's gone, it's out."
Yep.
So I hope that's not blown ACL. And then I guess there was another speculation. I don't know if Stalemates put it out or if Willie put it out, but somebody said that Brands at one point in the corner was screaming at Spencer, "You're only 40%. You're only 40%." So I don't know. It doesn't bode well, because at the end of the day, I love watching Spencer Lee in college, but he's gonna walk through this tournament with one arm tied behind his back, where the Olympic trials that's not quite the case, and that's where I want to see him at 100%, because I want to see him against Dayton Fix, Nick Suriano, Thomas Gilman, Seth Gross. I mean, all those guys. So hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he gets it figured out. Hopefully we're all just making shit up because we're scared.
Yeah. I mean, as a Hawkeye fan, shout out Hawks. I've got to I hope he's not at 40% like Brands, I think, yelled out. But to watch him tech fall Ragusin, he had a 24-second pin over Rayvon Foley in the semis, and then he tech followed Schroeder in the finals, 18-3. But he gave up the first takedown. And credit to Ragusin and Schroeder, even though that he gave up those two takedowns, or even though that he teched those guys, they put up a fight. They came out fighting, and you can't really. It's hard to congratulate somebody even though they lost and they got teched, but
It's
those
the
two came out scrapping.
it's the Pat McKee effect, or not Pat McKee, the Pat Glory effect.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he went
the
out
true.
and got and everybody was like, "Oh man, he looks so good, dude. He's
Yeah,
just tech fall.
exactly.
What do you mean he looked good?"
Yeah, Lee came off the mat after his finals, which I didn't get to watch the interview because I watched the Big Ten finals at Buffalo Wild Wings, and hadn't Kenny Courts been coaching his team down in Virginia Beach, we would have been watching them together, but it was allowed. I don't think the audio was actually on in there, so I wasn't able to hear what the guy said. But rewatching his interview, Lee said that was the first time he gave up the first takedown of the match. So since his last loss, I think that he said. But regardless, it's been a while since he gave up the first takedown. But on that note, he scored 18 points to Schroeder's 1 point after he scored that. So
Yeah, a couple other tidbits from the bracket. Moving off Spencer Lee, Liam Cronin goes 0-2. Like, that's surprising to me. I mean, he loses to Devin Schroeder, and then he lost to Michael DiAugustino on the backside.
Right.
So that was surprising. Robbie Howard goes on. He beats Dylan Ragusin in overtime to put himself as a national qualifier in the top 6.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, if there was one weak spot or one spot that everybody was like, man, I don't know if Penn State's got it here, it was Robbie Howard, because he hadn't seen it yet. And then here he goes, and he did take a loss to Heinzelman and a loss to Eric Barnett, but outside of those, he looked pretty good this weekend. And he ended up he outplaced Barnett, didn't he? Barnett didn't even place.
Yeah, Barnett did not place.
Barnett lost to Pat McKee.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it all year. 125 Big Tens is wild. McKee said something on Twitter a couple months back talking about Rutgers guys being crybabies or whatever. And Rutgers backup, which people are calling him his third string just because Suriano would actually be the starter. But Rutgers backup, Shawver, beat McKee to start the bracket. So that's just wild that, we talked about 125. It's just stuff like that happens. And then Cronin coming in as the second seed, like you said, 0-2. But then again, you're looking at Schroeder. He only had like one loss, I think, on the year going into Big Tens. I believe.
That was to, oh man, who was it? Was that Spencer? I don't think he wrestled Spencer.
Barnett, maybe?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Barnett.
But regardless of that, like, Schroeder made that Big Ten finals last year. So, like, he's obviously been there, and obviously it showed. I mean, he made the finals this year. He beat Heinzelman. He majored Heinzelman in the semifinals. So,
yeah,
that's just a little bit about 125 and the craziness that it has. Moving up to 133, RBY beat DeSanto in the finals 5-2. We talked about it all, last episode. If you take away your arm, I think it was RBY's left arm, DeSanto's not going to dump you, right? He's not going to get that grip, and he's not going to be able to get to his offense. And that's what he did. We saw it last year in the match, and we saw it last night, or we saw it that night. So
yeah, and you would think he'd have made an adjustment somehow. I mean, RBY did it to him exactly a year ago.
Yeah,
and DeSanto didn't make the adjustment. He couldn't figure out how to finish. He did get to that single leg early in the first period, or probably mid first period, but he wasn't able to finish, and that was the issue in the dual meet last year, where he was taking those shots and getting that single leg, and he made the adjustments where he's not getting cradled this time, but right. I mean, he's still getting taken down off of those shots. He's got to make an adjustment somewhere. Maybe learn how to hit that shot from the other side. I mean, he was getting the inside tie on the opposite side. Why do you only have that shot to one side? Because that's not a shot that you need, that you can't go to both ways on. It's not like a high crotch where you're just comfortable going one way. You can use both arms to hit a dump with. Yeah,
hopefully he makes some adjustments. As an Iowa fan, I think he's got more in the arsenal to to have offense against RBY. I mean, RBY obviously is pretty darn good, but I just think that he has to dig into the arsenal to get over that taking the arm away. Because last year it frustrated him where he couldn't get to the arm. This year he expected it, but he didn't make any changes to you know in the match or during this last 12 months. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started with when everybody saw what Dake did to Derringer in their matches, where he kind of took his arm away,
That's true. Yeah.
and then you started seeing people were like, "Oh, if you only have a dump, all you gotta do is not give you my arm."
Yeah.
So I mean, and Lucas Bird gave Austin DeSanto a really good match in the semis, and he was doing the same thing. He wasn't letting his arm get trapped, the way that they usually do.
We saw DeSanto wrestle somebody in a duel this year that they started to take the arm away. Granted, I think DeSanto just got his hands on him, and then that guy had no choice but to reach and gave that arm up, and DeSanto hit it. But yeah, DeSanto beat Bird in the semis 5-4. Bird had a pretty good tournament for Illinois. He took third. He beat Cannon 7-1 in the Conci finals.
Yeah, and he made Rondell for Purdue in the Conci semis.
Yeah, talking about Cannon, he took fourth. He lost to RBY 8-3 in the semis. People kind of talk about that match as Cannon came out and he fought pretty tough. I mean, RBY is just on a different level, but yeah, good to see Cannon come out and wrestling hard.
Yeah, there wasn't not much more left in this bracket to go over.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, fifth through eighth. I mean, I don't really recall how many they have qualified at this weight, but yeah, this weight there's not much to talk about besides those top four, especially the top two. Moving up to 141, Iowa Hawkeyes got their second Big Ten champ. Jaden Eierman of Iowa won by decision over Nick Lee 6-5. Damn, his defense is something else, isn't it?
Dude, he's like Houdini, man. He just makes stuff work. He went to Nick Lee. So actually, the commentators were doing actually a pretty good job in this match because they were talking about Ironman's ability to defend deep shots, right? Like if you take a deep shot with your hips coming in, Ironman does a really nice job of sitting the corner and finding ways to score. And not only did he sit the corner, but like he set the corner and went leg in on the far side. And then, I mean, he hit that. I mean, the person I've seen make it more famous is Ben Darmstadt, where his mat return with the leg in, crossing to the far side, and he just did that from a defensive scramble rather than like a normal mat return, and it was a thing of beauty. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. That was nasty.
Yeah. He just kind of did the little foot sweep with the right, and then he pushed off the left leg, I believe, and then once he had the momentum going forward, he trapped Nick Lee's right leg, and then he got the takedown. He had both boots in, and he got riding time. He rode out Nick Lee, I believe, with the 6-5 decision.
That whole first period. I mean, that's all. I think most of his riding time all came in the first period because Nick Lee ended up taking neutral, and Ironman only scored one takedown.
Yep, that was it. But so Jaden Eierman took first, Lee took second. Lee's semifinal match with the Rivera was, fireworks.
That was the match of the year. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. That was so much fun to watch. I'm a big Sebastian Rivera fan, and I mean, it's no secret that I'm not a big Penn State fan, but I do enjoy watching Nick Lee wrestle, and that match was awesome. I have a friend who's a really big Penn State fan. I said, all right, listen, I don't care what you say. I need Nick Lee to lose tonight, so we are guaranteed a Sebastian Rivera Nick Lee rematch at NCAAs because I need it somewhere where it's on prime time. So I need it in the semis. I need it in the finals. I need it in round 2. I just need it at night so we can all watch it again because it was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the match. I saw highlights. Like, again, I was working. I'm still trying to dig through. Obviously, the final matches are on YouTube, but I'm still trying to dig through the matches. Yeah, that's a match that I'm gonna have to watch.
That was, man, you really missed out because that was so much fun.
Yeah, I got out of work. I got out of work at Sunday in the morning, and that was blowing up on my phone. And then obviously getting to see Eierman versus Lee in the finals later that day was something I was looking forward to. So that was a 8-6 win for Lee. Rivera beat Chad Red in the Conci finals 4-3.
Yeah, so, but you know what? March Chad Red showed up.
Yeah.
in my opinion. I mean, he
Besides the
lost to
semis.
Ironman. Well, even against Ironman, he didn't wrestle bad. I mean, he obviously didn't win in the 7-1. I don't think the 7-1 score is very reflective on the match, in my opinion. I think it was a little closer than that. But at the end of the day, he's just not going to beat those guys right now, right? But he comes out, he majors Valdivieso, and then he majors Dylan Duncan, who they had a 4-3 controversial, might have lost the match to Dylan Duncan in the dual meet, and he comes out and he smashes him 12-3.
Yeah, you're right.
And then he majors Valdivieso again. But it was just, I mean, March Chad Red showed up, and I'm excited to see what he can pull off. And if the seeds that we're seeing right now, are accurate, they have him at the 7 with Seabass and Nick Lee at the 4-5. So if that's how they end up doing it, which is based on the seeding matrix from Nomad and Corby, Matt Scout Corby, if they end up being accurate with that, Chad Red's in the finals.
Who's the second seed? I didn't get to see Nomad's picks. Tariq? Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, March Chad Red versus March Tariq is going to be fun, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, that's something I'm sign me up for.
Absolutely. I'm still taking Red. I think if that's how it works out, I'm taking Red in the finals.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's Chad Red March is dangerous.
How crazy would it be, right? Think about this. If Nick Lee made the finals, opposite, say he beats Seabass and he beats Ironman, and then he wrestles Chad Red in the national finals.
That'd be wild.
Chad Red's senior year.
It'd be wild.
Think about that. Where they wrestled in the state finals their senior year.
Yeah, then see it come full circle.
And probably one of the best high school state finals matches I've ever watched.
Yeah.
And that was where Chad Red beat him and ended up celebrating in the stands before he even got his hand raised.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, 141's, it's obviously we saw Red take fourth, but that weight is, Red has a win. I mean, he's in the bottom side of the bracket. If that's the case, he's right there to make the finals run. So, yeah. So moving up to 149, it kind of went partly the way we thought it was, but not really, because obviously I went with Murin, but and we talked about how Ridge Lovett was pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, I should have pulled the trigger because I said it like 4 or 5 times throughout the recording. I said, don't sleep on Ridge Lovett beating Max Murin.
You did.
It's very possible. And then I went on to say, I'm not picking it, but I kind of want to. I didn't pull the trigger. I should have pulled the trigger because I was right. I got to go with my gut next time. Dang it.
Yeah, so Sammy Sasso beat Ridge Lovett in the finals 5-2. But Ridge Lovett, he beat Murin in the quarters, I believe it was. And then he beat Michael Blockus 2-1, tiebreaker one, in the semis. So, Ridge Lovett had a good tournament, and Max Murin did not. He didn't even place. I mean, we talked about Hawkeyes winning. Yeah, he didn't place, and he's going to have to get an at-large. Granted, his losses came to Ridge Lovett and Michael Van Brill, who took third for Rutgers. He had a great tournament. So
yeah, Michael Van Brill looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean, after he got headlocked.
Talking about
Peyton Omania, and then he wrestled all the way back for third.
Talking about another, guy at this weight that obviously didn't have the tournament he probably wanted was Bo Bartlett, Penn State, right? We talked about 149 for Penn State. There's the options that they had. Bartlett probably was their best option. Obviously he didn't have a great tournament. I thought he was going to beat Blockus. I thought the winner of Blockus, Bartlett, was going to make the semis, beat Perriott. And they did. Blockus won and beat Perriott. But I think Bartlett suffered from this was his first tournament of the year, I believe. Obviously, everybody had dual meets, right?
Right.
And he wasn't in many dual meets. So I just think he suffered from that, freshman not getting on the mat, not getting into that groove of tournaments where you're wrestling, even if it's, you're wrestling guys at the Scuffle or at the Cliff Keen, Las Vegas, or wherever, just in general, tournaments. I don't care if it's at the Michigan State Open. It's a tournament where you're getting in the groove of things. He might have been a freshman that suffered. Some freshmen obviously were fine, but in the fact that this wasn't his weight class, he's not a 49 pounder, but is what it is.
Yeah. So here's what I think, and here I am. I'm a high school wrestling coach with no NCAA Division One experience whatsoever. But it goes back on Kale, in my opinion. I mean, how do you make this kid make 141 all year long? Yeah, maybe it had to do with sticking with the guys that have been in the program, giving them a fair shot to earn the spot. But you make this kid make 41 three or four times this year, and then second half of the season, which is already like really the last quarter of the season, then he's making 49, and he's got to put on some weight to be competitive with these guys, to wrestle somebody like Yaya Thomas, who is gigantic for this weight class.
Yeah, true.
I
That's a
mean,
good point.
or even Perriot's large for the weight class. Sammy Sasso is typically pretty big. I mean,
Right.
all these guys are big 49 pounders, and you made them make 41 a few times. You should have. They should have made the decision a lot earlier, so that Bo Bartlett wasn't sucking down to 41. He was trying to, and he could have kept the size on. And I think that is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. And the size factor, on top of what I was talking about just a second ago, it didn't help Bo Bartlett at all. Granted, this was really just a free year, but I think he probably. I mean, we all expect more out of him. Which he's a freshman, he's got 4 more years left. He's gonna have a good career, but this just doesn't define him. I don't think.
No, I agree. I think he's gonna be a killer.
Yeah.
Um, maybe not next year, but the following year when Nick Lee's gone,
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be a force at, and I think he'll stay at 49. I don't think he'll ever be a 41 pounder, because I believe they're gonna bump. I think RBY is gonna bump up to 41 after Nick Lee's gone, and I think that'll have a nice little lineup there between Robbie Howard going 33, RBY 41, and Bartlett 49.
Yeah, and then Bustiello at 74.
Let's get him back in school first.
Yeah, that's true. Moving up to 157, we've got Ryan Deacon of Northwestern over Caleb Young of Iowa in the final 6-0. We mentioned maybe at the beginning of the show, I can't remember if we started before this, but Caleb Young, we were talking about Chase Saldate. Yeah, we were in the Michigan State
Yep.
as we talked about them. Saldate had a great tournament. He lost 4-0 to Young in the quarters. He came back and he took fourth place, losing to Brayton Lee 6-3. But some of those quarterfinal matches were exciting.
Yeah, this weight was, I want to say it was super exciting, but it was also super chalk for the most part.
Right.
Right? I mean, the top four seeds made the semis. I believe the top eight seeds all made the quarters, um, except for Cleary, who was a 9. He beat the 8. So I mean, it's still pretty chalk there. But the only real difference on the backside was Saldate beating Coleman to make the 3-4 match.
Right. That
And
kind of, like I said, it's not gonna say it shocked me, but Saldati had that great tournament. Some of those matches, fifth, sixth, Coleman versus Bergy, was that that was a medical forfeit, right?
yeah, Bergy had forfeited out. I believe he was already qualified,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
so they just kind of forfeited the match there.
That's same with seventh and eighth place match. They medical forfeit too, but Coleman beat Bergy in the quarterfinals. So
Right. So I mean, it's not big difference there.
right.
Um, I expected more out of Berge here. I was a little underwhelmed. I thought he would beat Coleman, and I thought he would do better. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd beat Brayton Lee, but if he had beaten Coleman, he would have ended up wrestling Saldate in the Conti semis. So I think fourth was probably where I was looking at him, but I don't know. I think he would. I think he's better than he showed this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, he's got another 8 days, whatever days it is from now till NCAA's, but yeah, he'll be all right. Coleman, Bergy, that top six is pretty darn tough for Big Tens at 157.
No, I mean
The
157 outside the Big Ten and ACCs is really kind of weak. I see,
yeah,
you know, Deacon, Young, Lee, and then you got Hidley, Keating, or not Keating, the Pitt kid.
McCoy,
Oh,
or
yeah,
is
Virginia.
that Brady?
You're right. Yeah, Virginia, out of Virginia. Yeah, so
Yeah,
um, I think
and then
that's
you got David Carr.
yup. David Carr. Yeah, you're right. So I mean, this weight's going to be pretty well defined going into nationals.
Yep. So moving up to 165. I lost my spot.
Alex Marinelli defeats Ethan Smith 3-2. Ethan Smith is he might be the most improved guy in the country.
Yeah,
That could
obviously
be my Buckeye talking, but
that was a close match. But we saw Iowa. They went through their COVID stage where they didn't compete, and then we kind of knew like right before that happened that Marinelli was out with COVID. So I think in those 2 weeks or whatever that he took off, he might not have been able. I mean, I'm assuming this COVID really wasn't affecting him too much as far as being bedridden or couch ridden or whatever. But I just think maybe his lungs aren't there yet. Obviously we know Marinelli's a grinder, and I think give him another 2 weeks after Big Tens leading into next weekend. It'll be exciting to see where he's at.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying into that as much. I think Marinelli is the number one guy in the country. He's going to find a way to train regardless of where he's at. If he's feeling all right, he's going to be in his backyard throwing dummies or stance in motion and finding a way to get a workout in throughout the whole process. Unless it was obviously affecting him more than has been let on. But the match's closest times were in the first period. I mean, Ethan Smith was extremely close to finishing a single leg on the edge at the end of the first period that would have made a big difference in the match, obviously, but it wasn't like a late match kind of push from Smith that kind of made it close.
Yeah, and then in the semis, he beat Cam Amin of Michigan 2-0. So another close match.
No, that's Which Marinelli's good at winning those close matches.
Yeah.
So
I was just gonna talk about the performance that wasn't the greatest out of this bracket.
That's where I was gonna go
Lee.
to.
Yeah.
There's a couple. There's actually two that I didn't think was very good. Joe Lee, he got upset by Jonathan Spadafora.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
shout out New York.
Yeah, he's a New York guy from out in Section 9. He knocked off Joe Lee in overtime with. I mean, it was almost silly. It looked like it was like Joe Lee kind of gave up. I mean, Spadafora just came out, put his head down, and drove a double leg, and Joe Lee had no answers for him. And then he goes back. He beats Josh Otto of Wisconsin. He pins Andrew Sparks, which was impressive, and that was my next guy where I was gonna say was subpar. Andrew Sparks comes out and goes 1-2.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't see them in the final top 8.
Yeah, so I mean that was surprising. He lost a close match to Amin and then gets pinned by Joe Lee. But if Joe Lee doesn't get upset there by Spadafora, you probably see Lee and Sparks, further on in this bracket and have a better day. That's always the fun part of bracketing, where one bad upset kind of affects
and bust it
3 or 4 more people.
Yeah, Spadafora, he's a Section 11 guy though.
Is he?
Yeah, I just thought he's a Half Hollow Hills guy.
Oh, that's right.
Or East maybe one of those schools. Yeah, but he's an 11 guy. But yeah, Maryland only scored 2 points. I'm pretty sure those were the 2 points that they got, right?
Yeah, I mean if they only scored 2 points, that's 2 points. That decision is 2 points.
That's Maryland's team points right there over Joe Lee. That's a pretty good win, but
Rip Joe Lee.
I mean, he
ends up finishing 10th or 8th place, which is not a qualifying spot. So
yeah, he's gonna need a qualifier.
I'm not even positive he gets one.
No, and with him not getting one, and then Bo Bartlett's probably not getting one. Penn State's not.
Best win. Did he beat Amin? Or did Amin beat him? I think Amin beat him.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I don't have Russell set up.
I'm pulling it up.
Ooh.
Cameron Amin did beat Joe Lee. So what's his best win? I don't even know off the top of my head. He Sparks at Big Tens.
Yeah. I mean, Sparks isn't a qualifier. He's a freshman, right? So.
Right. I mean, he's not. I don't see him being there. So
I don't see that win being.
I mean, everybody was super impressed with Sparks because of his close losses, right? Not because he had a big win or anything.
You're right.
I guess he beat Peyton Robb.
Yeah,
so that's a good win. He beat Nyhouse, I think, who's actually a qualifier, but I mean, I don't think he's going to get in over top of these guys that beat him.
No, I don't think so either.
So I mean, I think Jolie might be on the outside looking in. The only thing that might be going for him is the coach's rank, which I don't have on the top of my head offhand,
Yeah,
but you never know.
we'll find out tonight, right, for the qualifiers, probably early tomorrow
Well,
morning.
I know the kids will find out tonight. I don't know if we will all. There should be a press release mentioning who has a wild card at this point, but I don't know for sure.
Moving up to 174, we had Michael Kemmer of Iowa beating Carter Strokie of Penn State 7-2 in the finals. Obviously, that's a good win for Kemmer because Strokie, everybody was high on him this year. Obviously, everybody's still high on him. The 7-2 win was kind of deceiving. We talked about it before we got on air.
Yeah, when I was watching it, what was impressive to me was Strokie was on Kemmer's leg. So after the first period, where Kemmer got a takedown, and it was surprising for Kemmer too, because Kemmer got in on a real nice high crotch, and it was almost like too easy of a finish, something you don't really see against Carter Strokie, is easy finishes, and he made it look easy there. But then the whole second period, Carter's kind of living on Kemmer's legs. He's taking shots and he's moving forward, and then at the end of the second, he kind of just gets caught in a weird scramble position and gets put on his back for 2-2, kind of putting the match out of reach. But
Right.
I don't feel like that is super repetitive for Kemmerer. I don't see that match happening that same way again. Now, I'm not saying that Kemmerer won't beat Strokie next time, but I definitely see it being quite a bit more competitive than it was this time.
Yeah, understandably so. Kemmer beat Massa in the semis 4-2. Strokie beat 2 seed Mikey Labriola 3-1 in sudden victory. So that was the semifinal match was a good win for Strokie. I kind of really want to watch Labriola wrestle Kemmer.
Right. I mean, look at the third place match.
Yeah.
Labriola majored Logan Massa 11-3.
When's the last time we saw Massa give up that many points?
Dude, never.
It's bringing me back to a couple years ago when Massa flexed on Brands, right? When he beat
Oh yeah.
Marinelli. And it's just kind of like, obviously looking back then, it's like, all right, Massa's going to be the real deal. Granted, he still is pretty good, but this weight has Labriola, Kemmer, and Strokie at, above them. It's just weird to see him lose 11-3.
Yeah, he got pinned by Vincenzo Joseph last year. He got majored by Vincenzo Joseph a couple years ago. And he actually lost to Nick Wanzek from Minnesota 14-8. So I mean he didn't get majored, but he did give up 14 points there. So I mean that's 3 times in his career he's given up more than 10 points. Well, twice. Yeah, no, 3. That's 3. And then Imar. I mean, they're all excusable, right? Imar, Vincenzo.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
At fifth place, Caleb Romero, he won over Donnell Washington of Indiana 5-0. So, Caleb Romero is a fifth place guy. He's pretty darn tough in his own right. I mean, we saw Washington beat, he threw Strokie earlier in the year, but those top 5 guys, they're going to be dangerous at Big Tens. I mean, I have a feeling that they're all going to find themselves a spot on the podium, I would imagine.
Yeah, who outside this Big Ten can break into this top 5 of the Big Ten here? Demetrius Romero? Maybe.
Right.
I mean, he's a Big 12 guy. He's 16-0 this year. Maybe Bullard can pick one off.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bullard.
Peyton Mako, maybe. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think these 5 guys are gonna be your top 5 in nationals, in my opinion. Obviously, it depends on seeds and how things fall, but I mean, Kemmer, Labriola, Massa, Strokie, and Romero. That's your top 5 going to NCAAs, and I think that's your top 5 coming out of NCAAs.
Yeah, that's a good call. It definitely could be. Moving up to 184, starting the tournament, Brands over Bronigal. That's nice to see as an Iowa Hawkeye fan.
No, I don't. I wasn't mad. I like Nelson Brands a lot. I think he's actually probably he's probably my favorite Iowa guy.
He's a likable person, listen to his interviews and stuff.
And I'm a big physicality guy, and anybody with the last name's Brands is a big physical wrestler. So seeing the heavy hands and the hand fight that he has, that's probably my favorite part about him wrestling is his hand fighting. So I was actually really excited to see him get a win here, and actually, did he qualify? Yeah, he took
fourth.
So
Yep.
I don't know why I ranked there, but I'm excited to see him at nationals to see how he does against the other guys in the country.
Yeah, so I mean, he beat Bronigal, and then he lost in the quarters to Brooks, which is on a different level. He lost 14-8.
Did you see that match?
No, that was one of the matches on day
Oh
one
yeah.
that yeah.
So Brands had a lead with I don't know maybe a minute and a half to go,
Hmm.
and Brooks just kind of started pouring it on him. But Brands had a really good match there, and if he doesn't fall apart, that might be a little different there.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good to hear. It's good to know. I mean, going forward, Brands wrestled back. He took fourth. He lost to Poznanski of Rutgers,
Who had an
3-2.
amazing tournament.
Yeah, right. He wrestled Weiler, I believe, in the Conti semis, and I had a feeling he was going to beat Weiler. He beat Rocky Jordan, I think, in his first WrestleBlack match, which looking at the bracket or looking at the top 8, Rocky didn't place.
We're back to Nelson then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Poznanski still. No,
No,
yeah, Nelson
Poznanski
Brands.
had a good tournament too, though.
Yeah, Nelson Brands did. He beat Rocky Jordan. He beat Owen Webster. He beat Chris Weiler. I mean, that's a tournament right there. I mean, he beat the. I guess this whole bracket was kind of tough, right? Everybody was beating everybody at some point or another. But
Yes.
that's a really good tournament by Brands, and it kind of makes Poznanski's performance also just as impressive. But he knocked off Jaden Bullock and then Webster, and then he knocks off Malsuski, who had just beat Max Lyon. So good tournament at both of those guys. And this whole tournament, this whole bracket was just full of hammers. You had no easy matches.
Yeah, the Young Bucks prevailed in this bracket.
Although we will say, I mean, this was probably the easiest quote unquote upset pick of the conference was right. It was Vens making the finals here, but
yeah. Like I said, Weiler, I didn't have a good feeling about Weiler, but it is.
No,
what
I
it
agree.
is.
Ends up taking fifth after getting a med forfeit from Malsuski, but he qualifies, and we'll see where he ends up in a bracket.
Yep, up at 197. So I wrote a Flow Radio Live question to Flow, and it was more so about last year. I think 8 of the 10 weights were 1 and 2 seeds were in the finals of Big Tens, and I knew a few of these guys that were seeded at not so great seeds. Kirkfleet, which obviously didn't have the good tournament, but some of these other guys that were seeded low, maybe they could make the finals. And I knew 197 was probably the weight that he could make the finals, but I didn't think that he was probably going to win. And Schultz did not. So we saw Miles Amin of Michigan over Eric Schultz of Nebraska by 7-3 decision. Schultz had a close win over Caffey during the season. I believe it was 6-5. And Schultz beat Caffey in the semis 2-1. So, Caffey was right there to knock off Schultz in the semis.
Yeah, as a guy who has Eric Schultz on his fantasy team, I'm going to need Cam Caffey to not be on the same side as Eric Schultz.
Yeah.
Because the third time, 2 1-point matches, that third one's getting flipped, in my opinion. They're going to make it happen.
It's got to, right? I mean, 6-5, 2-1. Cam's got to find himself on the winning side of that, I would imagine.
Right.
So that was the top semis. The bottom semis, Miles Amin of Michigan won over Jake Warner, 3-1 sudden victory. Jake Warner is that guy that he has a good tournament. He's right there. Like we see like ups and downs of Jake Warner, but I mean the downs aren't that down. But when he's on his offensive game, he can score some points. So in the third, fourth place match, Jacob Warner beat Cam Caffey 8-3. So if Warner was on the other side of the bracket, I would have loved to see him versus Schultz.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I thought Warner looked really good this whole tournament. Even against Amin, there was a position in the semis where I thought Warner was going to score and win the match. He was super close, and then Amin, they went to overtime, and Amin just hit like a very clean, easy finish takedown, and it was like no scrambling involved. Which I mean, it's kind of Amin's MO is he doesn't. If he shoots, he's finishing clean. He doesn't like to get into the scrambles on his offense. But I was very impressed with Warner, and I'm not surprised if he actually he might be the one guy I think has a legitimate shot from the Big Ten beating Miles Amin. Even though Beard did have a good match with him, I just don't I don't see Beard having the composure to finish that match.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously nationals, Iowa, winning a team race, if that's semifinals match, whatever, and Iowa's on a roll, they're on a tear. I could see Warner feeding off of that momentum and maybe beating Amin, and that'd be big for Warner, big for Iowa, especially. So
I mean,
moving
Iowa
up
doesn't need
to
more help.
yeah, right. No, probably not. Moving up to 285, the grand finale, Gable Stevenson, the match that we were all waiting for, right? And I guess it's just to take it back, Mason Paris versus Kirk, and the quarterfinals. Mason
Yeah,
Paris, he majors Kirkfleet, and we didn't see much of Kirk during the year. We saw him wrestle Maryland, I think 2 guys from Maryland, but Mason Paris just comes out and majors him.
I gotta think that I didn't say this earlier when we were talking before, but I'm wondering if it was a Kirkfleet just not being in shape yet. Like he came out, so I know you didn't get a chance to watch this match, but Kirkfleet came out just shooting, and it wasn't great shots. I think he thought he needed to get in and get a lead because he knew he was gonna gas or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of shot himself into a hole, and then continued shooting himself into a bigger hole because at that point you got to make something happen. But I'm almost wondering if he's just not in shape yet and he's just out there trying to get a work, knowing he was going to qualify by beating these guys who aren't quite on their level yet.
Yeah, he needed it. We talked about Bartlett. He needed coming in and not getting that many reps during the year. You need a tournament like this. I talked about it with Jake Nolan after the IWAs, right? You wrestle 4 matches on the year. You come into a tournament and you wrestle 4 matches on a weekend. It's obviously not ideal, but it's going to help you, in a few weeks at NCAAs. So I think we're going to see a different Kirk at NCAAs. I would imagine.
I agree. I'm almost talking myself into kind of throwing this performance out. And it's weird to say that because then you go back and look at who he beat, and he beats Hilger 7-3, and he majors Christian Lance on the way to taking 4th place in qualifying in nationals. But Cassiopeia getting the major, Mason Paris getting the major is big.
Yeah. So coming
here.
back, or after that match, Cassiopeia won the quarterfinals as well, 7-1. So Paris wrestled Cassiopeia in the semis down low. Paris came out and just pinned him 58 seconds. I did not watch the match either, like I said, but how'd that go? Did you watch that?
Did not unmute myself. Sorry. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings and didn't even see it. Like I was freaking. I don't remember what happened, but I looked away and I looked back up and Paris is getting interviewed and match is over. I'm like, oh man, what I missed. Dang it.
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't get to see it. I mean, there wasn't a highlight out of it, so not good. The other side, Gable Stevenson, he tech falled Orndorff in the quarters. Lance beat Luffman. So Gable Stevenson won by injury to fall over Christian Lance to advance to the semis or to advance to the finals. In the finals match, we saw Gable Stevenson over Mason Paris 12-4. This match, it solidified how good Gable really is.
Why did Lance injury default in the semis and the rest on the backside?
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I was wondering that too. Like looking at it, he obviously lost to Kirk, and then he loses to Tate Orndorff for 5th and 6th. Maybe he didn't want to get injured by Gable Stevenson. I have no idea.
I'm just dumb. Did he have 4 matches? Like, is that an? No, I mean he's 9-5 this year. Like,
yeah,
what was he trying to accomplish?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I am baffled. Anyways, yeah, Gable Stevenson's the best heavyweight wrestler in the world, and I'm picking him to win the Olympics. But he's just on another level.
Yeah, no. And I told you before we started this, Harris took several shots. I'm gonna really just talk about the second takedown that Gable scored, which was in the end, close to the end of the first period. It was a shot where you're really not going to take and expect to score on Gable Stevenson. I mean, Gable's one of the best in the world, and the shot that he took was, I just don't understand how he thought that was going to score. And then obviously he took a few different shots. later in the match where we talked about, I think it was just the fact that he couldn't hand fight that well against Gable. And, he was forced to either lose the hand fight, get snapped and spun behind like he did, or take a shot and try to get on the legs and make something happen, which we kind of saw that. Because it was, 6-3 with 30 seconds left in the second period.
Well, it's 4-3, and then
then
Gable scored another takedown to make it 6-3 at the end of the second. But
right, so
he just kind of pulled away.
I think Mason just has to get better with his hand fighting and maybe come in with a better game plan, obviously. But just I don't know. Maybe wrestle from space. I don't know. I mean, Gable's obviously good. We saw him shoot from space and take Mason down.
Yeah,
Gable's good.
I just don't see a path to victory for anybody against Gable Stevenson. If he can come out and get that dump, I think that's what he needs to do. I think that's his really only path to victory. But you put your hands on him and his hands come heavy and come snaps and there's just no shot. I don't know. I'm not good enough to tell Mason Paris how to beat the best wrestler in the world. So good luck to Coach Bourmet figuring that one out.
Yeah. So third place match, we had Tony Cassiopeia of Iowa with a major decision over Greg Kirkfleet of Penn State, 9-0. Cassiopeia, people were talking about he's on tier 2 by himself, right behind those three, Stevenson, Paris, and Kirkfleet. I think that win over Kirk helps solidify the fact that he is definitely. I mean, then again, he lost. He got pinned by Paris in the semis. I just think that he's not below Kirk to where people think he is.
Yeah, I think there was a conception coming in that it's Gable, it's Paris, it's Kirk, and then it's Cassiopeia. And clearly Cassiopeia came out and said, nah, I'm on an island of my own. I may not be better than those two, but he's not better than me.
Yeah, for sure. So then we see Tate Orndorff beat Christian Lance for 5th and 6th, and then Hilger beats Luffman for 7th and 8th, which it leaves Luffman out. Luffman's going to need a wild card. Obviously, he's the one we talked about. He didn't have a great season last year, and he really turned it on this year and wrestled well, I believe. He just didn't perform that great, I guess, at the Big Tens. But I think he's going to get a wild card for the Big Tens.
I mean, he's got a lot of quality wins. He has a win over Christian Lance. He has a win over Trent Hilger. He has a win over Orndorff.
Yeah, all those guys that place above him,
Right, and those three are all auto qualifiers. And Lance and Luffman, I believe, is one spot out of qualifying, which is another criteria, right? You got to be one spot out of it. Yeah. You don't have to be, but it's a benefit.
It helps out,
to be one spot away from AQ. So, you got to think he's gonna get one.
Yep. So that about covers the Big Tens. You ready to talk about what happened down in Tulsa?
Yeah, let's do it. Kind of blitz through this a little bit.
Yeah.
125. Brody Teske, man, he killed it. He had a great tournament, knocking off Taylor Lamont. I'm not sure I was prepared to say Brody Teske was going to beat Taylor Lamont this weekend, but he did it. He's killing it right now. He's having a great season.
Yeah, 8-6 match over Vega, and then 97 win over Lamont. Yeah, great win for Brody Teske. I think he will stack up pretty well in the seedings for the NCAAs.
Yeah, the one thing that's gonna hurt him is his loss to Courtney. I mean, well, I guess not really gonna hurt him because Courtney's undefeated, right? But one thing it might actually end up doing to him that I hope it doesn't, but I can see Teske being a 5 seed, maybe a 4 seed. So we go Spencer, Latona, Courtney. And Hildebrand. Throw Hildebrand in there. So that's 4. And then you have, Teske might be the next guy up before Camacho. Which is kind of what we want as fans. We want Camacho with the 6. Because I personally believe that Camacho's the second or third best guy in the bracket. Obviously right now he's got to be third, right? You can't say he's better than Latona, but any day he can beat him, so.
Yeah, as a Northeastern guy, I want to see Camacho on the other side of the bracket as Lee.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So up at 133, we've got Dayton Fix of Oklahoma State. He won over Tony Madrigal in the finals, 6-1. notice that's a 6-1 decision. He did not get the major, and that's obviously kind of bit Oklahoma State in the ass when it came down to it.
Yeah, a couple of things in this tournament actually hurt them a lot.
Yeah.
Masha Giovanni being a big one, finishing in fifth, and I believe he did not qualify right now.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be looking for a wild card, which kind of hurts one Mr. Michael Rose, but
true. How about our guy Zakk Redding down on the island?
Zakk Redding with a
yes, sir. Yeah, so he didn't have the tournament where, I mean, I kind of called it that he wasn't going to, win in the quarters, win in the semis, and then see Fix in the finals. But he had a great wrestlebacks.
Yeah, he did. I did think so. Here's the path that I thought he was going to get in the front side. We all thought he would have Ryan Sullivan in the quarters. I thought he'd beat Sullivan, and then I thought he would have Zach Price because I thought Price would be Magical, and Magical obviously pulled it out. But then he ends up seeing Price in the Conci semis, and he beats Price there to earn his spot at Nationals. And then he knocks off Moshe Schwartz of Northern Colorado, who was also seated ahead of him. So big tournament by him, knocking off Price and Schwartz both, losing to Magical. But you get to the big show. You get to the big show one way or another.
Yeah, and then up at 141, the battle of Dom Demas versus Ian Parker.
Round
Demas
3.
did it. Yeah, 4-3 tiebreaker. So Demas rode him out and got the win over Ian Parker. Obviously, we talked about this match, how I think Parker's won the last few, right?
Yeah, Parker's definitely won the last
he
two.
Slowed down his offense, which obviously still did this match, but
yeah, it was Parker just won the last 2 matches between the two of them. But
that was Oklahoma's lone champ, I believe, in the finals.
Which is unreal. I think
and to think that they finished, they were co-champs. They just had a great wrestle background.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They kind of killed it there. I think they ended up with 7 qualifiers, I think I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's the number I saw. But, man, these brackets are so annoying.
Yeah, no, it was hard to read them. I mean, obviously you could read them as a wrestling fan, but just they weren't ideal.
I couldn't imagine being like one of these people's parents who don't understand wrestling and like.
Yeah, that's unimaginable.
Try to watch this, like, shoo, this is awful.
Moving up to 149, Boo Allen of Oklahoma State.
At 141, Caden Jafeller.
Oh yeah.
He wrestled, right? He ended up losing first round, and he wrestled back to the 7th place match, and then didn't weigh in. He just chose not to wrestle, and he would have had King Sandoval for 7th, and just didn't wrestle in that. I mean, that's another big reason why Oklahoma State's not lone Big 12 champs right now.
Yeah, you start to add some of those up, and they could have been ahead of Oklahoma for a few different times.
Shot themselves in the foot. All right.
Yeah.
Moving up to 149.
Pistoled themselves. Moving up to 149, Boo Allen of Oklahoma State won by decision over Oklahoma's Mitch Moore, 7-6. Again, this is a huge match for the final team scores. Right before the final started, people were talking about how close the team score was going to be, and this match was big. Oklahoma State got the win, 7-6.
Yeah, Mitch Moore actually had a really good tournament. He's been tough. He's really good. Obviously, transferred from Virginia Tech. Majors Dylan Martinez gets a close win over John Jensen of Wyoming, who's really tough, and then has a 7-6 match to Llewellyn, which I did not think that would be a close match coming into it. I mean, Mitch Moore is tough, and he stays in a really good position, but Boo Allen is really good offensively, and I thought he would kind of pull that away. But the big news out of this weight class is Andrew Alirez out of Northern Colorado.
Yeah, he
injury defaulting out.
Yeah, I don't know the story behind that. I think he's just hoping to get a wild card, maybe. I mean,
that's got to be his play. But I mean, I had no clue this was even a thing coming in.
Yeah.
I thought he would be wrestling, and then he comes out and maybe got hurt at practice yesterday or the day before or something. I don't know.
Could have been it. I mean, you see some of these guys that at least wrestle a match or two and then drop. But yeah, we've seen several guys like Hartman at EIWAs. He didn't wrestle. He weighed in, and that's the key, right? Weigh in, and then hope for an at large.
Exactly.
Yeah. So moving up to 157, we kind of talked about David Carr. Next topic out of this weight.
Yeah,
David
not a
Carr
whole
won.
lot going into this one.
No, one in the semis, 8-2 over K DeVos, and then won 8-2 over Jared Franek of North Dakota State. So David Carr, next topic. He's going to be exciting to watch NCAA's. Moving up to 165.
Wyatt Sheets went 0-2, looks like. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wyatt Sheets went 0-2. Man.
No bueno.
That's nuts. Okay.
Moving up to 165, we got Luke Weber of North Dakota State, won by decision over Cole Moody of Wyoming, 11-7. Weber had a great tournament. He beat Whitlake in the semis 5-3. I mean, that Whitlake's been the guy in Big 12 at this weight.
I'm pretty sure we next topic this weight when we were talking about it.
I think we did too as well.
Yeah. Luke Weber said, "Watch this, guys."
And I think we talked about Whitlake beating Hall in the finals, maybe.
Yeah,
in the
for
preview.
sure. I mean, Peyton Hall is really tough, and then they end up meeting for third, and Whitlake obviously pulls that out. I think Whitlake auto qualified, but even if he didn't, I mean, he'll be at the big show. He'll get a wild
Yeah,
card.
I'm almost positive that he did.
I mean, then again, maybe he doesn't get an AQ or wild card if you think of the ACCs. I mean, they're gonna have
True 65. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we'll see, but he'll be. I'm positive he'll be there.
Yeah. Moving up to 174, Demetrius Romero of Utah Valley. This was Utah's second finalist. I think it's the first time they've had two finalists in the history, or maybe definitely a long time. Which, I mean, looking at it, they could have had three, right? With Tate Orndorff if he was still a Utah Valley guy.
Yeah,
but,
no, I mean,
yeah. So Demetrius Romero wins by decision over Northern Colorado's Jackson Heimauer. He beat Heimauer 6-2. I think that was Northern Colorado's only guy in the finals. No, Schwartz might have. No, yeah. So
Schwartz took fourth.
Yeah, he lost to Reading. So yeah, that's I think their only guy in the finals. I mean, obviously Lirez would have probably been in the finals, I think, but
yeah, rough showing for Troy Boy's team, but
yeah, but I mean, I think that was their highest performance at Big 12s in the history. I'm pretty sure Troy tweeted that out. So I mean,
we say bad showing, and then it turns out it's one of the best ever. But
yeah, right.
I'm sure they did expect a little bit more out of it.
Yeah. So moving up to 184, this was kind of had a controversial. People talked about it on Twitter, and I mean, this was one of the matches I watched live. I drove home from Watertown from watching Big Tens, turned the TV on, and bam, Parker Keckheisen over Tate Samuelson of Wyoming, 5-3. Keckheisen scored a takedown, and before the takedown was, there, Tate Samuelson stepped out of bounds, and it was clear that he stepped out.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch this, but I did hear a lot about it. Somebody said that they even reviewed it, and it was clear as day he stepped out, and they still upheld the call. So maybe they didn't have independent reviewers here. I think that was one of the other issues I saw is Big 12s didn't have an independent reviewer. So like the official on the mat was reviewing their own call, which we've all know the issues with that. But
yeah, that's true. And obviously, I mean, Parker Keckheisen is going to be one of the top seeded guys, I think, at NCAA's, right? I mean, he could be
a 2 seed. We don't really know for sure, but
he just won 5-3 over Tate Samuelson. With that takedown being controversial. I mean, if that didn't happen, the NCAA seeds might be really wonky at this weight.
I mean, they're already going to be. I mean, every seed's going to be wonky, but
I guess they're going to be wonkier now that the fact that he won, right? Yeah. So
I mean, honestly, if he would have lost, we might have been happier with the seeds that we're going to end up getting.
Yes.
I think that's where you're getting at, but
yeah, that's where I'm getting at. But looking back at the review, like if when they zoomed out, the black mat and then the platform was black. I mean, it kind of blended in together. So I guess if they were looking at it from an angle, maybe they just didn't see the mat, or maybe they didn't see the edge of the mat. I don't know.
So did he step out of bounds, or did he step on the hardwood, or off the mat?
He stepped on the platform.
Okay. So I mean, I guess
right because it was an elevated stage. Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So that was that. So moving into 197, the team score is 124 for Oklahoma, 120 for Oklahoma State, and Fast Twitch Ferrari's got to get a win to tie it 124-124 to make Oklahoma State Cowboys the co-champs, and he's got to get bonus points to put them ahead of Oklahoma and be the outright champs of the Big 12s. Watching him do what he did in the finals was impressive.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch this, but I did hear a ton about it. And, I mean, say what you want about Aj Ferrari, but a true freshman coming into the Big 12 finals, knowing his team needs a major, and doing everything he possibly can to get that done. He comes up a little short, but he did everything he could to try and help his team win a team title. I mean, that's big for a true freshman to put that on his back.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he won in the semis, which I was pretty high on Tanner Sloan. Tanner Sloan's dinged up, and it kind of showed, but I don't know how dinged up he is. But, he beat Tanner Sloan 7-1 in the semis. I think Tanner Sloan might have came back to fourth, maybe sixth. I don't know. I think he lost in the Wrestleback round.
Yeah, he ended up losing he actually got pinned by Coleman.
Yes, Marcus Coleman. Yep.
And then he forfeited for fifth, so he ended up falling all the way to sixth place.
Yeah. So obviously not the tournament he wanted, and I just think he's dinged up. And on the other side, Buchanan versus Adams for the third time this year, and Buchanan won this third match. It was 3-2 win. We kind of talked about Adams. He's got to be, 3 times it's hard to beat somebody, and he did it.
And now he's gonna have to do it a fourth time.
Yeah, crazy, right?
I almost wish if I was Buchanan, obviously you never want to lose a match, but man, if there's a time, it's this one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to nationals. I mean, it's just that luck factor. That the other side of it, obviously, the other side of it could be, you're in this guy's head. You're kind of showing him, I'm so much better than you. You're never gonna beat me. Maybe it's a big brother kind of factor at some point, but man, these guys are close.
Yeah. So the finals, Aj Ferrari wins over Buchanan 13-8. There was a point in the match where he kind of blew through him on a double and kind of put him to his back. I thought maybe there was 2-2, and they reviewed it right. The ref probably could have waved 1 as he's going down, and then the 2. And it could have been a 2 count. I think they could have gone either way with it. They chose not. They chose no near fall. Had he have scored that, he probably would have got the bonus points to win. But he threw the brick. John Smith threw the brick. I just think at that point, like, he was starting to break him, and I don't know. Maybe if he didn't throw the brick, and obviously because it wasn't overturned, so if he didn't throw the brick, I think he just could have poured it on him a little bit more. Ferrari was feeling himself. He kind of, did the OSU little chant thing to the crowd, and the crowd seemed pumped up, right? I mean, we saw some fans in the stands, and they obviously got rowdy behind Oklahoma State. They're Cowboy in the finals because they were pulling for a major decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, getting that crowd behind you, and that's another factor of him, being a true freshman, coming out and kind of going balls to the walls. But that crowd always makes a big difference for anybody. I don't care what anybody says. The crowd is a factor in any match, anywhere.
Yeah. And then moving up to 285, Cannon Gremmel of Iowa State won by decision over Brian Andrews of Wyoming, 2-0. One of our guys that we mentioned last episode, Brandon Metz for North Dakota State, he had an impressive showing. He made the semis, losing to Andrews 4-3. I think Isley of Northern Iowa did not qualify, right? He was a second seed, I believe.
Well, actually, so Metz beat Isley in the quarters in tiebreakers, and then they ended up wrestling again for fifth, and Metz beat him once again in sudden victory.
Yeah, shout out Metz.
Yeah, so good on him. And I don't know how many spots they had here, but you got to think that's a shot at a wild card beating up Cutter Isley twice.
Yeah, and I mean Gremmel beat Heinzelman from Oklahoma in the semis 3-1, overtime, sudden victory. So Gremmel was right there not to be in the finals. And obviously if Oklahoma would have won that match, get it in the finals, the team score obviously would have been different there too as well. So
yeah, they win there. The last bone I got to pick about Big 12s is stop taking team points. It's so stupid.
Yeah, don't do that.
I mean, they lost because they lost team points, and then come on now.
Jafeller, I think, gave up a team point.
Yeah, I mean, I know John Smith got hit for a team point. Like, you're gonna punish the kids because the coach made a mistake, or like a lot of times the team points are freaking control of mat space. Like, give them a yellow card, give them a red card, do whatever you got to do, but stop taking team points. It's so stupid. It's the only sport that takes away teams points.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, I mean, that covers Big 12s. As we mentioned during the podcast, the at-larges are coming out either tonight or tomorrow morning. I think we plan on going not live, but having a show tomorrow night for the NCAA brackets, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna look at the brackets till I get home. I have a match. I have a youth match tomorrow night. I'm not even gonna look at them. I'm gonna give you my live reaction as we're recording tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll do the same then. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna look at the at-larges. If the
I'm
at-larges
looking at
come
wild
out
cards.
tonight,
I need to know if Micah gets in. I'm not even.
if there's a wild card, if there's a link that comes out tonight and they share it, I'm gonna share it on my Twitter and I will share it on my Facebook at MorWrestling. Obviously we got some New York guys that are on the cusp of being an at-large and getting a wild card to the NCAA tournament next weekend. It's gonna be exciting. So hopefully some of our New York guys get pulled through.
Yeah, follow
Yeah,
us. We'll make sure everybody's aware.
yeah. You got anything else?
Nope, I'm all set, man.
Yeah, so thanks again for tuning into this episode. We'll be back again tomorrow night. We'll be back with another episode of the NCAA bracket, live reactions. So again, follow us on social media. Zakk on Twitter at Wrestling607 and follow me at MorWrestling. I'll be on Twitter and Facebook, both at MorWrestling. So I'll have shirts made up for the state tournament too. I just put my order in today. So
Can't wait.
I'm excited. Yeah. So that about covers it. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace out.